like me, then you probably just bought a small tea candle and need a way to hold it. Well, you're in luck, my friend. This video will show you how to make a simple yet intricate candle holder to impress your dinner guests. To make this candle holder, all you need is a miter saw, a drill, and most importantly, a scroll saw. You also need a 2x2 piece of wood. To get started, print off the design linked in the description below. Take your 2x2, which should actually measure to 1.5 by 1.5 inches, and measure out a block to match the height of your design. Cut this piece off with your miter saw so you end up with a block that is 1.5 by 1.5 by 4 3/4 inches. Next, attach your design to 2 adjacent faces of the block. I use an adhesive spray for this, but you can use whatever you want. I don't really care. After using the drill to make 4 pilot holes like so, you are ready to start scrolling. I started by cutting out the center of the design first. Just thread your blade through the pilot holes and scroll. I chose to make my candle holder out of oak. A hardwood like oak prevents the workpiece from breaking or cracking during sawing. On the other hand, a softer wood may be easier to control and cut. Once you finish the holes in one of the faces, repeat the same steps for the opposing sides until you get 4 nice little tunnels through the body of the piece. Once the interior cuts are all done, you can move on to the outside. You're going to eventually have to cut off one of your designs, so keep some tape handy to reattach the sides you remove as you go. Not only does this keep your design intact so you can see what you're doing, but it also will provide a flat surface and stronger support for the remainder of your scrolling. Packing tape works best, but I got away with using Scotch tape, because that's just how I scroll. Once all the sides are done, remove the tape and bask in the glory of your candle holder. I used a rotary tool for some intricate detail sanding before applying my finish. You may be thinking to yourself, hey, that looks pretty bad, but you shouldn't be so quick to judge. At least this candle holder turned out a heck of a lot better than my first one. Well, that's that. Now you can sleep easy knowing that your candles are elevated. You can put stuff in it if you want. Maybe some pins, a cup, a bottle, some tools, some wine, some spoons, a plant, or even your favorite candle. I don't know your life, do whatever you want with it. For this project, we used a Wen 16-inch variable speed scroll saw, an oscillating spindle sander, a 4x36-inch belt disc sander, and an 18-volt cordless drill. First off, print 3 copies of the design linked in the description below. Use some adhesive spray to attach the 3 sheets to some reasonably sized boards. Keep in mind that the smaller the boards, the easier scroll sawing will be. Next, drill through 5 of the 6 center circles to make pilot holes for the scroll saw. Make sure to leave one circle as is without a pilot hole. This will be the base of your cup. You're now ready to start scroll sawing. First, cut out the inner circle by fishing the blade through your pilot hole. Pin blades are usually the easiest and quickest type of blade to attach. And remember, as with any woodworking project, it's always safety first. Once your blade is nice and taut, you're ready to start sawing. The flexible worm light will help to illuminate your path as you make your way around the circle while the blade guard foot and cast iron base limit vibration in the wood. Once you have finished cutting out the full circle, detach the blade and slide your workpiece out. Repeat this with the remaining 4 inner circles you need to cut before moving out to the outside of the circles. It can be tricky to stay on the line, so if you're going to make a mistake, try and favor the side of the wood that can be later sanded off, as opposed to cutting out a sliver of your cup. When you're all done, you should have 5 wooden rings and 1 base piece. They aren't perfect, but neither am I, so it's all good. Use your belt sander to smooth the tops and bottoms of all the pieces, along with removing the design paper you attached at the beginning of the project. Next, glue the 5 rings together using the wood glue of your choice. Make sure the circles are straight and fully sealed. Then, clamp the piece together and let it dry. Once it's done, you should have an object that looks a little something like this. Now we can move on to our oscillating spindle sander. Before sanding, attach a wind dust extractor to make sure your sawdust and shavings don't fly everywhere. Then, smooth out the inside of your tube so that the rings are all flush with one another. Once it's done, you should have an object that looks a little something like this. Finally, glue on the base of the cylindrical tube. Again, make sure it's totally sealed and correctly aligned before clamping down the piece. After the tube thing has a chance to dry, take it back to the oscillating spindle sander and have a go at the outside. When you're finished, you should have a smooth little wooden cup to put stuff in or do whatever you want with. I don't know what your plan is, you made it, not me. Anyways, This is a great project to introduce beginners to the scroll saw and the spindle sander. Today I'm going to show you how to make a bandsaw box using the Wen 2-speed 10-inch bandsaw with stand and work light. We will also briefly be employing the help of the Wen 12.5-inch thickness planer and the Wen variable speed oscillating tool. I started off by looking up other people's designs for bandsaw boxes online. Everyone else online demonstrated such creativity and showmanship with their bandsaw boxes, I couldn't wait to get started making my own version. First, I had to make a block of wood to construct the bandsaw box from. Because the Wen 2-speed 10-inch bandsaw has the ability to cut depths of up to 6 inches, I decided to make a 10 by 6 by 6 inch block of wood as my starting point. If this is the size that sounds right to you, then grab 4 2x6s to construct your own wooden block. Next, while donning your favorite business casual, plane off both faces of the boards so they are nice and flat. After that, glue the faces of the boards to one another with liberal amounts of glue to make sure the entire face gets covered. Finally, clamp the boards tightly to one another and leave them overnight to dry. Once the boards are nice and dry, use the Wen bandsaw to cut the slab into 10-inch segments. Now you have a nice 6 by 6 by 10-inch block of wood to work with. Next, draw or glue on the design that you want to cut out. For me, I chose a design that would be next to impossible to mess up. After quickly messing up my design, I decided to revise my plans to something even easier, a half circle. A few things for beginners to consider. First and foremost, understand the relationship between the width of the blade and the turning radius of the saw. If you don't think your saw blade is turning sharp enough, then you may need a thinner blade. Once you have cut out the box, the next step is to cut a flat piece off the back. Set this piece aside, as you will need to be gluing it back on at a later point in time. After that, it's time to cut out your drawer. For mine, I chose to slice off the bottom of the slab in order to have easy access to cutting out my drawer. To make your drawer, cut out a solid piece from the center of the block. Perfect! Next, set aside the rest of your bandsaw box and cut off flat pieces from both the front and back of your drawer. Finally, cut the center out of the drawer to allow for room to put stuff. Now it's time to glue everything back together. You should have 3 pieces for your drawer: the front, the back, and the base. Go ahead and use wood glue and clamps to put these back together, leaving out the middle piece in order to leave room for stuff inside your drawer. After that, glue the other components of your bandsaw box together. Clamp them and leave them to dry separately from the inside drawer piece. Once the pieces have had time to dry, unclamp them and then see if your drawer fits. Odds are, it'll take a little sanding in order to get it the right size. I used the Wen variable speed oscillating tool with a low grit sandpaper in order to remove the excess material. After a bit of sanding, the drawer should slide perfectly back into your bandsaw box. Finally, using the excess scrap, make a little handle for your drawer. Carve out the handle with the bandsaw and then glue it to the front of your bandsaw box. Look at that cute little guy. Once the handle has a chance to dry, your bandsaw box is complete. And there you have it. Now you have a place to store all of your hopes and dreams, and maybe even a deck of cards. Times have changed, buddy. You're an adult now, and adults spend money on their gifts. But you can still hang on to some of your cash by making your friends and family their very own magic wine bottle holders. To get you started, you need a 2x4 and something to measure with. For our demonstration, we'll be using a miter saw, a drill press with a 1.5-inch Forstner bit, and a sander. First things first. Make a 40-degree cut on one end of the wood. Line up and safely secure your 2x4 before starting the cut. Next, measure 9 inches down on your 2x4. If you are using a Wen dual bevel sliding compound miter saw, make sure to use your laser to maximize accuracy. Using the same 40-degree angle, line up the piece of wood along your measurement and cut off the other end. Next, measure 1.5 inches down from the upward facing edge of the board. Be careful to measure from the correct side, otherwise the wine may not balance right. After making the crosshairs, secure your wood to the drill press and line up your measurements. Some drill presses, such as the Wen 12-inch drill press, include a laser to increase precision. If you have this luxury, make sure to use it to ensure your wine holder balances perfectly. Once you've lined up and secured the wood, go ahead and start drilling. Your wine holder's about done. Finally, for aesthetic and textural purposes, you can sand down your holder until the sides are smooth and sleek. This has no effect on the wood's ability to hold wine, but it does make for a better gift. Feel free to add your preferred lacquer to really add a special touch. There you have it, the do-it-yourself wine holder, an easy and cost-effective gift for any woodworker to create. Add some gravity-defying alcohol to your life with the Wen Magic Wine Bottle Holder.